folks. Welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast, where we bring you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to make your restaurant more profitable and more successful. I'm your host, Jamie Oikel. Today, got a great episode for you. I'm here with Chris Tripoli, principal of the Restaurant Clinic. Chris has over 45 years of service in the hospitality industry as a concept developer, owner, operator, as well as a restaurant consultant, as well as a regular speaker at association events. So, Chris, man, we're going to go a whole bunch of directions. You've seen a lot. What are some of your hot buttons these days?
Hey, Jamie, thank you so much for having me. Hot buttons these days, boy, there's a few. I think for people who are using this as a time to start up a new idea or get into the industry for the first time, not only is it extremely competitive, it's always been so, but right now it's just so hard in some areas, finding locations, the increasing costs, which are just insane in some areas, the time that it's taking for design, permitting, and opening. Those are some really hot buttons that we're cautioning and helping people entering our industry with. For those who are in the industry, the biggest hot button is adjusting, to the post-COVID customer demands. I mean, I know it's been a couple of years or more, but still, we have a lot of people in the independent operator sector who have been, slow to adjust to balancing the need for convenience with delivering the service that the guest still deserves. And so, we're up to our elbows working with people on that one. Big hot button.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question. You spent a lot of time in independent space and you were there yourself. It used to be the case where a lot of folks would want to open up a restaurant. Hey, that sounds like a fun idea. And that still exists. But I want to get your opinion on how that's changed, because it's no longer something you can just kind of do as a hobby. It's a business. It's a very, very tough business to do profitably. And so I feel like I'm not seeing as many independent startups, like just with no experience, like there maybe used to be. Do you feel the same way, or how difficult it is now versus how it might have been years ago?
Well, we're still seeing that you mentioned that. I can't wait to leave my, earlier profession and jump in, even though I have no experience. I'm willing to risk my retirement because I'm going to open up a little pizza place because all my neighbors say I make the best pizza. So yeah, we're still seeing a little bit of that craziness, but I like your point. It is a little bit less. And I think it's because people are more informed. People are a little better prepared. I think a lot of these people that think our industry is so much fun because they normally see it from the guest point of view, going into their joint that they like every Friday night. They see everyone happy, smiling, working. They think, God, this is a fun way to make a living. I hate that I go to work. I sit in a cubicle all day. These people have fun. I got to quit and join them. I think the reason we're seeing a little less of that is because there's so many really good sources, like, for example, yours, other web sources, associations. So there's so much more knowledge out there that people can see very quickly, and they can learn about the costs involved. They can learn about the liabilities, how hard it is to qualify for funding, how much funding is required. So I think we're doing a better job of educating, and that's probably what's keeping some of that entry level lower than before.
Question. Let's go back to Restaurant Clinic. I had spent some time on the site. I like some of the profiles, almost reads like a doctor's menu, prescribing this and giving a checkup. So tell me what you guys are doing there.
That's a lot of fun. And yeah, we're taking that approach to try to keep small independents healthy. So starting with an overall checkup, which might be called the operations assessment, to see strengths of the particular client, how we can help them, exemplify and do more in their area of strengths, correct some of the weaknesses, which is sort of the short-term prescription. Sometimes it's tough to take medicine, but the creation of systems, procedures help improve consistency, create better margins. So we're doing a lot of that. Now, my brother David is really taking the lead. He's doing a really good job. He keeps me busy. I assist him. We've got a small team. We're having a ball working together. We've got clients currently right now from, let's see, the Carolinas to Canada, from Texas to Alabama, Arizona. So he's kind of bouncing around a little bit.
Good.
But that's really what we're doing, is working with the people who are in the business, but they're relatively small. They're independently owned. They want to improve their performance, or they want to start expanding. And as you know, there's a tremendous amount of needs from structure, finance, team building, leadership development that's needed when you're in that kind of situation. And that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Hey, so work with your brother now. Have you guys worked together for a long, long time or no?
Well, we worked together before. Yes. In fact, kind of interesting. When I first started out as a young guy, and I had a couple of backers that believed in an idea of mine, so I got to open my very first restaurant. My brother David was my very first hire. He was my first general manager of the very first restaurant. Now we're really dating ourselves now. We're going back to like the early 80s. And I was just this young buck with a swinging door saloon, casual kind of concept. It was fun. We opened one, it did well. And then we opened a second, we opened a third. So I worked with David, during that period of time. And then now kind of we get to work again together.
Good. I love the phrase, take your medicine. We've done webinars or shows or podcasts and before we've used this phrase homework. You got to do your homework, right? If you got to put the data in, you got to put the menu costing in. If you don't put it in, you're not going to get the information that you need. So do you see resistance is not the word I'm looking for, but a lack of time or a lack of efficiency to get the data into these systems, taking inventory, getting menu costs, or is that a big challenge for folks? And how do you get them through it?
Well, yeah, we really almost have to do what we call show and tell and then spoon feeding. You've got to just, it's like, babies in a high chair. You just kind of have to take it step at a time, small spoon at a time. The reason it's getting a little bit easier is that we've got some really good technology support that say a decade ago we didn't have.
Right.
People are very familiar now with getting all their information off the POS. They can manage their item sales reports, their labor by the hour. They can do weekly forecasts. They can compare actuals to projections a lot easier now than we used to. When it comes to inventory, like you mentioned, there's some very common programs, whether it's Margin Edge or whether it's Extra Chef with Toast. We don't really represent one or the other. We're just wanting our clients to pick something. And then we have to sit and help them get it started. So what we're finding is once they get over that initial hump, they see the benefits and they see, wow, this is really good. Once I get all that data in, I'm going to be able to get really good, useful inventory management, ordering to par levels, controlling of costs. And so, yeah, you kind of have to help them. It's all about baby steps. And then once they get going, you can take the training wheels off and they're on their own.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. I mean, the tech is so phenomenal today where it wasn't there 5 years. Well, 5 years ago, maybe it's there. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, certainly not, or it was very expensive, or only, the McDonald's, Taco Bell, those guys had it and they could do all these fancy things with it. But now it's affordable for everybody. And you need it because it's the only way to squeeze these pennies out. It really is. It's the only way to find another few percentages in your operation to do the tech the right way. And restaurants have historically struggled with this. So if you're not using tech, it's sitting there, it's waiting for you to get more efficient with. So please do that. You talked about people, you talked about leadership and culture. I want to go there for a second. Tell me, if you do, whether it's web-based these days, or if you do in person, how do you get a group together? And maybe it's that meeting, maybe it's an all hands on deck meeting, talking about service, talking about the concept. What do these meetings look like with staff this day that's a little bit fragmented, different age groups, different mindsets, distraction America on our phones. Where's my phone? Everyone's distracted by the phone.
Right.
How do you talk to a staff these days?
It is a little different because, I go way back where it really was a lot more about preparation, presenting, you're sort of selling your ideas, you're doing all the teaching, which of course you do a little bit of now, but the way things work now with today's worker, with that person who was basically, born in a handheld, they don't know, say, life before instantaneous gratification.
Right.
So our approach now is a lot more through engagement. You really have to do some in person, where you're getting the existing team together, and you've really got to do a lot more listening. You've got to really engage with the team to learn about them, what their hot buttons are, likes, dislikes. Everyone seems to have a slightly different motivation now. And then once we figure that out, then we have them basically help us by creating a development program that's going to work for them so that they feel they were engaged in the process. They help develop the development program. It's so much easier for them to feel responsible for the work to do if they felt like they had input. Then it's so much easier for us to hold them accountable for something that they feel they're responsible for. So that's kind of how we do it. Starts with a lot of in-person work, and then most of the follow-up, though, can be done with some very good Zoom discussions that are done sort of on a weekly basis.
Yeah, good run through there. Getting that buy-in is so important. Like you could have a meeting and you could write 10 things on the board that came right from you, and you tell them those 10 things and they're gonna be like, oh, that's great. But if you sit there and you say, let's talk about 10 things, and they create the 10 things and you write them down on the board, oh man, you're gonna have such a different level of engagement and accountability. So I really like that walkthrough. This leads me right to the next question. On your website, it says one of the bullets, happy staff equals happy customers. So yeah, so you got this engaged staff, and now they are maybe in a good mindset to deliver good service, which is lacking out there in large part. So talk about that aspect, having the staff translating to the customers.
That's exactly how it does. And it takes a little bit of time, but once that staff is engaged, once they feel like they had some input into the program, whether they're servers, counter servers, bartenders, back of the house staff, once they feel like, they had that input, we find that they feel better. And that creates a little bit of self-satisfaction. That's what helps them be happy while they're working. Then you can feed that happiness. The more they know about what they're doing, not just do it, but why. Why is this function important? Why is my station supposed to be set up this way? Why is it better if I do this first, then do this second? Why do these steps of service seem to work better for guest satisfaction? So the more they understand, the rationale and why they're doing, the happier they are doing it. And how that translates to the guest is quite simply, we have found that the more comfortable somebody is with their knowledge, the more confident they'll be in displaying it. Watch that person on the line. The more comfortable he or she is with how it's supposed to work, and they're happy because they understand how it's supposed to work, the more confident they are meeting those ticket times, keeping those plate portions consistent. They're doing it, with vigor. On the other side of the table, we notice that the staff will interface with customers so much better. They'll do suggestive selling. They'll issue compliments. They'll walk people to the door. They'll be very genuine with their thank yous. Now you've got a sincere service model working, but it's all because they're working with confidence. Well, how did you get them confident? Well, you made them comfortable with the knowledge of what they're supposed to be doing. That's our approach.
Yeah. I love when I get experiences like you're talking about. Unfortunately, they're I don't know, in the 20 percentile. I eat out a lot with the family. I'm not getting enough engagement from staff. I'm seeing very mediocre service. But if you can do what you just talked about, I will come back to your restaurant. I promise you I will. And I really do appreciate that, especially as prices are going up. So sometimes where there's 3 of us, 4 of us, 5 of us, if we have the whole family together. And that is $100 bill. Like, we are dropping $100. And so I want to feel that I get not only real value, but perceived value. And part of it comes from the food, but a good part of it comes from the service and the people and everything that you just talked about. So please up the perceived value and the real value. As your customers are spending a lot more money, it's a big deal. So another note from your side, I want to go to next, try to change gears a little bit, because this one's real important for independence. And so I want to pick your brain, how to create a point of differentiation. Like, how are you different? Why should I choose you? Again, we'll go right back to my phone, which is sitting right here. And of course I can pull up my computer screen. I have 50 places to choose for lunch, 50 places to choose for dinner. And some marketplaces have a lot more. How do I choose you? How do they look different? What do you think?
Well, that point of difference really is getting harder and harder to do, because we are a very competitive industry. And what we used to hear years ago was, my point of difference is I'm the only guy that uses this particular food item, or I'm the only person who does this type of a seasoning process, or I've got the most unique type of marinade. I import only French butter from France. Hardly anyone does that. That's what makes my bakery unique. All of those examples I just gave you are real life things I heard from clients. So the good news is, yes, that's important. Can product be a point of difference? Sure. But we say no longer can you stand just by that. People are so food knowledgeable now. I guess we can thank the Food Network for that. Everybody understands, much more about food. People are expecting more about food. They understand local buying, farm to table. They're cooking better at home. So we can't stand just by that. We have to create a point of difference in the experience. So it's how I'm going to treat you. I have to put more emphasis on the things that you just mentioned. Our industry seems to be stumbling at, and that's personalization, service. How about some follow-up? How about the point of difference that we want to get to know you and try to get you from being satisfied to becoming loyal? That means bonding with us. So we want you to join our whatever particular tasting club. Everyone's got everyone's phone numbers now if you do online ordering or you make a reservation. So why not do a little follow-up text with a thank you or a little question about the experience that they had? We're trying to get our clients to use point of difference as impact in the experience. So when people leave, they get something from your place that's very hard to get somewhere else. Personalization, service, and follow through, because that's where most people are stumbling. So that's where we're creating the biggest void to fill.
Absolutely. I always scribble stuff down. So I was just scribbling while you're talking. Good stuff there. The personalization stuff is good. I feel like a broken record lately because I happen to be rereading this book called Hug Your Customers, and it's an old book. And I just brought it up with a current guest. I don't think that episode has released yet either, but this book it talks about a clothing company, a clothing company up in Connecticut, selling suits and jackets and ties and I swear to God, everyone should read this book. And I mean, it's not a new book; it's been around forever. And they used technology back in the 70s, 80s before other folks used it. And they use it in such smart ways, like you already talked about. I mean, knowing your customer, giving a personalized experience. Again, if I sit down with my family and I've been there before, it shouldn't be like, hey, is this your first time? No, I had you last time. Like, you should know me. It should be like, hey, good to see you guys again. Thanks for coming back. Do you want the same, because I pretty much get the same beer. The wife gets the same wine. Like, you have the data, you have the database. You can know who I am when I come in, and that stuff can be skipped over. So there's those opportunities. And when you start to do that for your customer, that's really going to make your place special. And the opportunity is easily there. You have they check in, you already have the database, the server scans it real quickly, remember some quick facts about you. So lots of opportunities there. But again, check out that book. You'll read it as a restaurant operator going, holy cow, those guys are doing it. And I'm not doing any of that stuff. That's crazy. So that's a good book. Hey, so we're in books. That's one of my recommendations. What do you got? Anything you're reading now, or anything you think hospitality folks should read?
Well, yeah, you made me think of a couple things that I think are very helpful to anybody in the business. I recommend Monty Moran's book, the one that's called "Love is Free, Guac is Extra." Monty Moran, who was the co-CEO for Chipotle Grill for years, he talked about his approach. And the reason I think a lot of independents can get great knowledge from this was that he's a person with a legal background. He had basically a blank canvas of restaurant operations to look at. And so how he studied the field and how he turned their HR approach around to become more inside the four walls, rather than recruiting from the outside, rather than being influenced by others in the industry that came before and trying to create strength from those who believe in them, which were the workers that were there. He wound up getting much better input, much better engagement. He created a very positive work environment. And all of those steps are steps that we use when we are working with independents. And then, of course, there's unreasonable hospitality that is just,
that book. It just keeps coming up on the podcast. People,
yeah, it's just.
So if you haven't read that, you obviously have to read it, because everybody I talk to says you have to read that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And listen, I mean, Chipotle is one of those brands that's doing very well. I know my kids love it. and that whole quick service genre as a whole is doing very well. Do you work in that space? Have you seen changes there, or do you not have you not been in the quick service?
No, very much.
Mm.
We have worked and continue to work in the quick service. The idea of people wanting to expand by doing smaller footprints,
Mhm, mhm,
is driving that.
mhm,
The idea of that value for the dollar
mhm,
is
mhm,
driving, a quick service. The fact that you can get curbside, third-party delivery
mhm,
so easily, and yet still order online and eat in if you like. So that really drives that market. So we have a lot of experience in that market, working with small independent
mhm,
brands, getting them bigger.
mhm,
And so, yes, in the burrito business, salad bar business, in the taco business, enchilada house, we have been all over the place in quick serve. And so, what we've sort of done is we've coined the challenge we call 5-star in 5 seconds.
mhm,
When you have limited time, how can you challenge your counter servers, your person on the floor, your busser, your to-go sacker? How can you challenge them to make impact when they only have a few seconds?
mm.
And that's how we come up with unique things that will still help people with welcoming, eye contact, suggestive selling, complimenting the order, a reminder of next week's special, certain thank you, appreciation. We got to mix that in to where you have very little time, but you're still showing guest appreciation. And we call that 5-star service in 5 seconds. It's a challenge, but it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Well, I really like that because as you're talking, I'm thinking, hey, I just placed the mobile order and I walked in to pick it up. And sometimes it's on a counter and sometimes you need to interact with folks. And yeah, that could be a very bland, here you go, here's your thing. Or you could do one of the small things that you just talked about and add a little color to that experience. And obviously choice B is better than choice A. And I love ordering digitally, by the way, and I'm sure a lot of other folks do. This is not rocket science. I'm not telling you anything new, especially the younger generation likes to do it.
Yeah.
So if your restaurant's not plugged in with all those options, I mean, please get there. You're missing out. You're leaving dollars left and right. Curbside, ordering ahead, getting ahead on the wait list. All those things are really, really critical. So I know you work with young restaurant folks and startup folks. And I grabbed this again from your site because I liked it. The principles every young restaurant business owner should know, but probably doesn't. What do you got? What do you have there?
Here's one. You're probably not your customer.
Hmm.
And I think that's really, really important when you're, taking a look at your particular concept and you're wanting to make the best possible decisions. A lot of times we need to make sure that you're focused on your core customer. Do you really know who that core customer is? And when we figure that out and when they can study and see the demographics, say the income level, the amount of time that they spend in the store, the size of the party, family, singles, etc., more male, more female. A lot of times once we develop that, we turn to the owner and say, see, that's not you. You're a 60-year-old white guy. And look who your demographic is. This younger college, unbelievable multi-mix of gender and nationality. So we need to be making our decisions based on hitting the target, not making our decisions based on what you like. And so that's something that we see a lot. And it's mainly because too many times the owner isn't necessarily
Yeah.
the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Very, very, very much so. As an operator yourself, growing up in the business, you would have received advice all along the way. Anything stand out from you historically of a piece of advice that you find yourself going back to, or you say, oh, that really was good. That really was helpful. What do you think?
Many, but you just made me think of my very first one. I'm going to go all the way back to when I was 15. My
Mhm.
very first job was a high-end steak seafood place. And, back then you were wearing the red bus coats and the cummerbunds and the
Yep.
bow ties. And anyway, it was, very formal. But we had a general manager there, Ray Nardoni. And I can remember him telling me then, saying, listen to me now. He said, if this is a business you like, if you think you're going to stay in this, I want you to know that long after these people leave tonight, long after they forget exactly what they ordered, because they will, long after they forget exactly what they paid, because they will, they won't forget how they were treated.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you want people to be able to weeks later drive by the building and look and go, oh, I had a good time there. Yeah, we got to go back there. They may not know what they ordered. They may not know what they paid, but they know that, oh, that place made me happy. So from a very early age, I was told that about how to make the experience special. If you can't have fun serving people and make the experience special, then we're missing the boat.
Yeah, you know what I want to do, because that one's awesome, by the way, and to learn that at such a young age is crucial. I think, you know, my middle's graduating high school, so he's about 18, but my younger one's 12, and the other one's 20ish. But like some of those lessons don't always come to you at such a young age. You don't find some of that stuff out till later. Maybe let's stick in that advice category. Anything else jumping out to you in mind? Whether it was midway along the journey or a mentor shared some more stuff with you. What else jumps out to you?
Well, yeah, I think the other thing that I always like to try to tell people is the careful balance between trust and faith. This is a people business. Once you're in it, once you've got your systems, once you feel like I might really have something here, I can create value in this brand. How do I take that next step? We always want to explain to people that you want to make sure that you've got a team that you feel is compatible, more so than capable. Compatibility trumps capability. You can train and help people become more capable. But if they're not compatible with your principles, with your culture, with what's important to you, then you have to do some work on your team. It's a people business. So you want to be able to trust your people, that they're the right people in the right place. But you have to put your faith in the system. You've got to be able to, if you think you're expandable, if you think you've got something that you can create value in, you've got to have faith in your systems so that you can see your information, monitor your costs, be quick to react to things when you need to. And that only comes if you're managing your product, your people, and your costs consistently, and you have good, efficient systems.
Yeah. And there's so much going on, so many moving parts, as you know, in this business. So you can't do it all. And so you need to, again, have that trust and faith in your team and the staff that you build and develop. So last kind of area that I want to go to is trends and future. You talk a lot, you see a lot. If you were to project 2, 3, 4 years down the road, what do you think the restaurant industry looks like? What might change? What's coming? What do you think?
I think we're going to see more specialization. I think we're going to see smaller restaurants, but we're still going to see full service. I don't think full service is going away, even though counter service is rapidly expanding at like twice the rate. But that's because we're a social people, and we still like that, sit down interaction. So I think 5, 10 years from now, we're just going to see more specialization in menu, more limited, more rotation of product. In order to stay fresh, everyone's going to be doing seasonal or more menuing. And I think that we're going to be able to see an adjustment, or I guess you might say a continued adjustment to the new definition of value. I think we're going to see more and more operators realizing that value is not defined by cheap. We did a disservice in the industry 20 some years ago when we were sort of introducing the word value, but basically what it meant was cheap price, value meal at a drive-through, value meal that's in a box that's only available Monday through Friday lunch, but it's a value meal. But what the customer is teaching us, and I think we're going to be adjusting to better and better, is that they're defining value on the overall worth. Was this worth my time? Sitting in your restaurant or ordering online or eating at home was this worth it? And worth is defined more by quality, and consistency, price and service, ambiance, all working together. I think we're not there yet, but my prediction is we're going to be working more towards that.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff there. And I'll just echo the value equation again. Like I've been happy to spend the $120, and I've been pissed off to spend $30 at a restaurant.
Good point.
Yeah. Based on the whole experience, food combination, marketing, everything. So, it's not one or the other. It's the whole experience. So good stuff. What did it's a parting thoughts, website links, tell them about your podcast, anything we missed, etc.
Oh, this has been great. No, I love the topics that we're talking about. Yeah, everyone can listen to Corner Booth if they like. That's an interesting podcast. I've been fortunate to host it for the last few years. It's a product of restaurantowner.com, which is owned and promoted by the National Restaurant Association. Corner Booth is basically a forum to expose today's restaurant entrepreneurs. They share their story that everyone can learn from, what they did right, what they did wrong, what they'd never do again, what's important to them, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of a personal sharing of somebody's journey. Other than that, Restaurant Clinic, therestaurantclinic.com, as you've been so nicely pointing people to, is a great place to find me and others, and a way to connect and maybe get some help if you need it.
Perfect. Yeah, we covered a lot, man, in under 30 minutes. I mean, this has been great. So hopefully folks found it useful as well. Folks, Chris Tripoli of the Restaurant Clinic, you can find them at therestaurantclinic.com for more great tips in restaurant marketing and service, people, tech, and more. Stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, if you could do us a favor, share the episode, like it, rate it, review it wherever you watch it or listen to it. That really is a big help. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Jamie. Have a great day, man.
You too.